Who's running?
Hola,
What are you doing?
nothing. Let's do this podcast then.
Okay, let's do this.
Let's go.
Just to let you know, this phone call is being recorded.
Move, I'm Indigenous.
Move, I'm Indigenous.
Move, I'm Indigenous.
Welcome to Move, We're Indigenous. I'm your host, Janelle Henry. You know how Indigenous people say it real quick when we want something, even though nobody's actually moving any faster? Well, Brendan and I had the chance to catch up with Davy Gott real quick, and he slapped us both with positivity. Alright, let's get into it. Take a listen. Joining us today is Cree radio extraordinaire Davy Gott, whose voice carries across Manitoba every week as co-host of Friends on Friday on NCI-FM. For many listeners across Manitoba, his voice has become a part of the soundtrack of our communities, blending country music, Cree language, humor, and heart. Davy isn't just on the air, he creates a safe, fun space for connection, culture, and joy.
So I'll just jump right in with the first question. What does it mean to you to hear from people from all over Manitoba on Friends on Friday, every Friday?
I think being a part of Friends on Friday it's nothing short of a dream come true for me. I mean, I listened to the program growing up and I heard all the voices because the show goes back like about 28, probably well on beyond 30 years now before I got a chance to jump on there with Jordan Knight, and it's been a ride ever since. It connects us to the people in a way that it's really weird because even like the way you introduced me, and to me, I'm still just a res boy, right? I'm res through and through. And
Which place are you from?
oh, I'm from Chihuahua, Easterville.
Oh, I don't even know. Like, I'm from Roseau, which is like southern Manitoba.
Yeah.
So I don't know anything about you up north natives.
It's a big limestone rock we got put there, and it's been a real tragic story. Yeah, no, but we moved on past through that. We got got evacuated from the Grand Rapids Dam and then put on this big limestone rock, and then we were kind of left with just all these wrong things that were done to us. And
With like that kind of like history that you're talking about, like, and you're such a happy person on air. Like, what does it mean to you to like show that positive Indigenous representation?
I love to throw positivity around, and I realized as soon as I got out into the wider world, when people ask you, how you doing? And you're like, oh, I'm doing deadly. And then you kind of slap them with that positivity, and so many times people are just like, whoa, yeah, I'm so used to being like, like that. They're not used to being that positivity, so I try to take every chance I get to throw that positivity into the world, and it's been a real blessing that I've been able to do that through the power of broadcasting.
Like, from what I see, you're out there, you're like being your authentic self, like in a wider public sphere. Was that hard to do at first?
Yeah, no, honestly, it was like a really big culture shock because I didn't know coming from the city. I never thought I would live here. I came here as a single father, and I faced a lot of adversity and challenges and sacrifice. But through all that hard work, that's one of the things that really kind of helped me get into those spaces was that positive attitude. Everything that I realized that it was like everything, instead of like complaining about your situation, I found that I was able to turn any kind of situation, good or bad, into something that I can learn from. Even if it was just something I didn't even want to do, or it was just something really bored, it was still even then a chance to test myself. Like, I can sit through this, I can do mind over matter. Like, instead of thinking about how horrible this is, I can turn this into an experience that is positive and that I can learn. And that was a really hard thing to do coming because I'm like a res guy through and through, and being in the radio in those big spaces, in those non-native rooms, it was very, very intimidating, and I didn't know how much to be myself. And I'm way better than where I was at that point when I first came here to Winnipeg years ago. But kind of funny story and I was still in the transition mode of it, and one of the kind of aha moments for me was just like being myself was like super good. Was I was put at this table with these really big suit guys who were like all millionaires. They run some of the biggest conferences and festivals in North America. Like I was flabbergasted. I was sitting at the table with these really big names. And then by the end of the conversation, because when I stepped on that table, I was like, oh my God, what do I do? I don't know what to say. What do I do? But in the end, I just kind of leaned on what I was, and by the end of it, they were kind of like, check this guy out, man. He's like actually pretty funny. And I was just like talking about my res, just being me like the way I was. And I realized that that was a good thing and kind of like a superpower that I was just like, okay, well, I'm just going to take charge and be myself and be able to turn that. And like anything, it was hard and challenging at first, but you know, the more you go through it, the more you do it, it just kind of becomes a little easier every time.
I love that. I love that story. This is why I was like, I want him on the show. Like, it just makes sense to talk to him. I knew you were all full of wisdom over there. And you know what? Like, it's hard to get up and do it every day. That's where, like, I really look up to you for that, and I respect you for that. But so, like, it's so important for us to take care of ourselves, like, whether it's, like, spiritual, physical, mental. What's something, like, self-carry that you can't live without doing?
One of the things that really helped me, and I still really do this today, is just breathing exercises. I was a really crazy, all over the place kind of person, very green, and I jumped into everything that I could without even knowing. And when I started trying hot yoga, and what that did was really forced me to get inside my mind and be in control of what my thoughts are and be present in my mind and my body, and breathing and being able to shut out external and to breathe properly and to ground yourself. That and probably sunsets. I always keep a good collection of sunsets on my phone.
What's some advice you would give someone that's, you know, just stepping into those rooms that you remember stepping into that was when it was all scary? Like, what's some advice?
That you are your ancestors' wildest dreams.
I love that. Yes. Is there anything you want to add to our conversation?
Well, we're all about saying move, we're Indigenous, right? I think it's important to move with all walks of life. It seems like so many times Indigenous land, we gather together in these places and we're so much like, just take this and then run with it and then I got your back no matter what. But I think instead of coming at like that, I think we should all come together as a humans, as people, and what's good for the peoples. Because so many times we get caught up in our circles and our blocks and we just take things as they are. I think it's important to double check your sources and not just listen to one thing, but to also critical think. And a lot of Indigenous business, a lot of non-Indigenous businesses are trying to do the right thing, right? We have more of a voice than we ever have before, and people are listening. And if take your experiences that are authentic to you, that's what they're after. They want to know. And so that's why I think it's more important now to be a part of those systems and be a part of the change, right? Experiences are what's valued, and how are we going to be part of this world if we don't even take control of the wheel or take part in society? So, heck, I don't know. I could go on.
Absolutely. What, David, what I'm hearing you say is, let's just not just be friends on Friday. Let's be friends every day.
Yeah, for real. Friends every day.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me join you guys, Janelle and Brendan.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Talk to you again later.
Okay, bye-bye.
Blaine Campbell owns Blaine's Inc., an Indigenous cleaning company making waves in Winnipeg and beyond. What looks like magic is actually vision, discipline, and power in motion. A bold, forward-thinking leader, she serves communities across Manitoba, including Shoal Lake First Nation, and has launched a new nonprofit organization called Still Sacred, which is an online thrift store. This is a part of her bigger mission to build real impact, because she's not just building a business, she's building a legacy. Blaine, you're so special to us, so we need to ask you some questions about your business. What calls you to do this work?
My spirit. I believe this is my calling. This is something I'm destined to do, something my ancestors are always pushing me and guiding me and rooting for me to be going hard at making these businesses and providing service for our people, especially for our Indigenous people.
You didn't choose entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship chose you. What is it? Like what do you do? What is Blaine's Inc?
It is turning out now to be the main foundation to a lot of structures that offer employment and services. With Blaine's, like I've created a lot of different areas by noticing who I'm working with, noticing who needs what. There's a major demand for this kind of business within our people, and it's not only here in Winnipeg. I've come to realize that there are no Indigenous services such as Blaine's anywhere across Canada.
Tell me a little bit about what it's like to be a cleaner.
There is a very narrow view if you've never actually done the work as a cleaner, as to how important our job is. And that is why we are currently working through changing the title of our work from cleaner to community care ambassadors.
Being a business owner, that's a lot of energy. Just showing up every day takes energy. Tell me about any challenges in maintaining the energy to keep the business going, to keep yourself motivated. Like, did you ever feel like any like pressure to just like shrink and be like, okay, never mind, I don't want to do this anymore?
Daily, that pressure comes daily.
So what did you do to overcome that?
Because I want it. I want this. I want what I'm doing. I want that life. I want out of this struggle. I want out of the daily pain we see every day. So I have to keep fighting every day, like every minute.
Baby girl's hungry and wants that rich life. Wow, way to
I
go.
want that life.
Yes, that's the way to be.
So when you're doing this, why is it important for like us Indigenous people to do things like this?
Because our parents never got the chance.
And then the other part of that question is, why is it important for us to do things like this while being authentically ourselves?
When we are authentically ourselves, it actually makes life a whole lot easier. Your true authentic self is true contribution to the world. Once you leave this world, people will actually have felt that wrath that, from you being you.
So just even you admitting about how hard it's been, like that's you being authentically yourself. And then tell us about how Still Sacred came to be.
People were just like, this started immediately. They give you things. They don't want that clutter in their home. And the one thing that is so common is that these people don't want to be donating to Value Village. They don't want to be donating to basically white establishments. They want to give it back to our people who actually need these things. So I would take these items, like, because my staff, whoever staff needed it, my family needed it, like, I could get rid of it to somebody who actually needed it. So I started taking items, and then before I knew it, there's like basement full of frickin' items. Now it's grown into Still Sacred, a thrift store. We need a thrift store for these items. Where all proceeds will go to the cost of infrastructure for trails and sidewalks and pet policies, helping create pet policies in the reserves in Manitoba.
Okay, so res dogs.
They don't get destroyed.
Don't call them that.
Which reserve was that when they put tie up your dogs or they'll be destroyed?
So my reserve, I'm just all proud. They put out they're like, this is just something that happens, right? So it's like, this is just like part of life. And so they put out this letter to the community saying, okay, so this is the day that dogs are going to be shot. But the wording that they used was like, if you don't tie up your dogs will be destroyed.
Where's the benefit of either side of that? Where
They will be annihilated.
Yeah, boof.
Like, there's so much land on the reserve. You can open up a business and offer a dog daycare. Look at the other day we were talking about like that little dog daycare on Mountain and Fight.
Oh yeah, I was telling Blaine we were driving, and I used to live in that area. Like I used to live in this area,
Yeah.
and if I got off work in time, and I got to drive by the dog daycare as the dogs were getting picked up, like oh my day was made. Because okay, dogs are happy, but imagine like seeing a dog getting picked up from daycare.
That feeling though of people, like even the kids, to see that on the reserve, or for them to go and get their dogs from daycare, you know.
It's amazing that Still Sacred, it was about the thrift store, but honestly, like these dogs are still sacred too.
Everything is.
That one's extra $5 because it's extra sacred.
It really, like, it stems to so much more deeper things. That's why I say that this is like my spirit, this is my spirit, this is my calling, what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, I'm working for my ancestors right now, pushing these things through.
I just want to highlight about how fresh Still Sacred is. Like, I'm on the board of this new nonprofit organization. We just started having meetings, and the Shopify where you can actually buy these items just went live last week. So it took a while to figure that out, to how you get it all figured out, and like all the stuff sometimes it gets overwhelming to especially what other people don't realize is there's energy. Like there is energy on these things. So like as I'm a cleaner for Blaine, or like a community care ambassador, I could feel energies when I go in places, and sometimes it does affect me. So like it wasn't just, okay, we got some stuff, we're gonna put it up online for sale. Like this is a really solid foundation of, this is a legit business, it's a nonprofit organization. It's now online. The money is going to that bank account. Actually, have you gotten your first sale yet?
No, and that's a goal. That's a goal I wanted to set for this week. But like how we were talking about overwhelming and challenges, I'm the only one that is pushing through on things like this. If I have to miss that goal this week, you know what? That's going to be okay. I'm not going to kick myself for it. I'll do it again next week, and I'll get to it, or I'll do it on the weekend, and all it takes is those first couple tries, and you get used to doing something, and then it becomes easier. It becomes quicker,
What advice do you give to somebody that has an idea right now? What do you tell them?
To do a business plan. It's very important. Lots of people have ideas. Yes, you can have an idea, but I did a business plan when I started with Blaine's. It took 2 years for me to finish this business plan, just mainly because I thought too much into it. But a business plan teaches you, if you actually really want to do a business, because you have to look at other businesses around you. You have to look at how is yours different.
Oh, okay. So, how can we find you if anyone is interested in working with you or wants to check out the thrift store? Where do they go?
www.blaines.com or www.stillsacred.ca.
Okay, awesome. So we'll have that up on also our Facebook in case anyone wants to look.
I'm so happy for you guys. I'm happy to be the first guest on this podcast. I truly believe you guys will go far in this, and it really made me feel so good to talk about these things with you guys.
Yay! Okay, so now I guess we all gotta go to work now, right?
You guys have to work.
You guys are late. Okay, so our guest today is Errol Ranville, musician, songwriter, and one of the driving forces behind Seaweed Band, a group that helped define a generation of Indigenous country rock. Long before representation became a buzzword, Errol was already out there doing the work, telling our stories loud, proud, and unapologetic. This conversation is about legacy, inspiration, and how survival turns into sovereignty, even when the road isn't built for you. Festival du Voyageur was packed on Sunday night. When you step onto a stage like that after all these years, how does it feel to have such a successful weekend like that?
It's good. It always feels good to, to have people having a good time. We've been in the entertainment industry since I was like 12 years old. 11 years old, we played our very first public performance in a little town in Manitoba called Laurier. And I was 11 years old. My brother Wally was 13. My brother Don was 14, and my brother Randy was 15. So it was 4 Ranville brothers, and we made $82, and that was the most money we'd ever seen in our lives at that time.
That is so cute. Oh, and now look at today. Yeah, like we were there over the weekend, and it was just crazy packed. But that's so awesome. I love it there. Oh, okay, so my dad is actually a musician. His name's Bernal Henry. And so yeah, I grew up and he would always be like practicing and he made his originals and he would record his own songs like at our house and everything. And he loved the original song. Yeah. So he has this one song called On With the Show. And in the lyrics it says, Seaweed Band and Billy Joe proved you can put on an Anishinaabe show. And that line, like, it always stuck with me. Like, not because like it sounded cool, but to just like hear, like, you guys are Indigenous icons. That's like real legacy right there. What does that mean to you?
It's always nice to be acknowledged for, the work that you do. Even though it's difficult for me to call it work because pretty much a labor of love. It's something that I would do anyway because it's something that I love. So it's not like having a job per se that you go to work every day. But you always want to be, rewarded for the time and effort that you put into anything.
So Seaweed has been making music for over 50 years. Is that correct?
Yeah, 61 years.
Holy 61. That kind of longevity doesn't just happen by accident. How did you become so consistent?
Well, I call it necessity. I mean, another year rolls around, you still got to eat. so you push forward with what you know best, and we're very, very fortunate that the show was always in demand. There were times when we may have been overexposed in certain areas, so we had to branch out further into the world. But we've played in Europe, we've played in China, we've played in the USA, we've played across the whole country. So it's not like we can wear out an audience in one particular area. So we're fortunate that way that we were able to branch out.
You make it sound so easy, like business is just easy. So there's a saying that like Indigenous people do business differently, and like this podcast is called Move, We're Indigenous. Do you think Indigenous people move differently, like in business?
Oh, absolutely. There again, out of necessity. I think we had to deal with pretty blatant racism over the years. We made it fun, I guess, if you can call it that. I mean, we weren't dragged down by it. We sort of danced around it in most cases, but I don't think we ever stayed bitter. And I think that's the most important thing, is that we understood that racism is an illness. People that are racist sometimes don't even realize that they are. And I think on their best days, if they could not be, they would choose not to be. And that's the kind of attitude that I kind of preached to the crew, the boys, as we were moving through the world. That racism is not something that you bow down to. We work around it.
Yeah. No, I remember like walking around in small towns in southern Manitoba with my family, and people would be like yelling at us, like, "Go back to your res," and just like vulgar words, or getting called savage, and like it was horrible.
So we do move through the world differently. I think we are cautious. We it's like we have a little antenna, little receiver that we can sense where the racism is going to be a little bit too much, that we probably should not, attend or not go, or in certain situations. So yeah, I mean, we became successful, I think, a lot of time just because we dealt with racism differently, and we were never bogged down by it.
And your song Run as One, like it's such a strong song, and it's like an anthem, and when you guys play it at your bar there, like it just like it's all encompassing. Like you said before, you said before that music is medicine. What does that mean to you?
When there's sorrow or hurt or even anger at times, music is medicine where it eases the pain. So we always saw ourselves as bringing a lighter feel to communities. When we cruised across the country with our music, we started to feel that way, that we're bringing the medicine to the community.
Well, it's interesting that like it's lighter, but the song, like you could just say Code of Silence, it starts with.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting that it's a code of silence, but it's like the first words, but it's lighter.
Well, Runner's One's a bit heavier, but I'm talking overall, like we were hired to bring the party.
I love that about music. Like I love art and music, so that's, I guess I'm just like appreciating that more
Nice.
than anything. So I believe that like everyone has a gift, and music is your gift. Why is it important for our people to find and trust their gifts, even when the world doesn't always validate them?
Different people have various strengths, of course. We all move through the world a little differently. I really always stand on my soapbox and cheer people on to find out what it is that you love doing. Because if you can make that your work, you'll never have to work a day in your life, as the saying goes, because you're doing something that you love. And having the strength to stick to it no matter what, the stuff of success. I mean, because it's never easy. It's not supposed to be easy. When we dedicate ourselves, our time, our heart and soul to whatever it is that we love, and it can be anything. If we find what it is that we love doing, like in your case, you're interviewing somebody, you're in the media, and that's what you love doing.
I really do.
Yeah, depending on how much energy and effort you put into it, that's your gauge to success. I mean, it's all about what you are willing to do, like, to how much you're willing to put into it. And that's what I love most of all about what we've done, for all these years, is that we put our whole lives into it, but the reward is high. We got lucky in a lot of ways, but in a lot of ways it was just that we were willing to go out there into the world, no matter how afraid we were. We toured from Halifax to Vancouver to Whitehorse to Navajo, New Mexico, when nobody else was. To have that kind of courage and just to go forward and keep doing it. I mean, we were lucky that we had each other because we supported each other. We're family. Not only that, the music was pretty good.
I bet you make more than $87 now.
$82. It was mostly in coins, and there was $1 bills in those days, green $1 bills. So we brought it home in a plastic bag, and we put it on the kitchen table, and we poured it all out, and we all stood around and stared at that money. I remember thinking, this is what I want to do for a living.
Another line in the song Run as One, you say, it's our children's children I'm thinking of. That line resonates with me. So what's something we can do today to build up our children so that they have pride and walk strong in who they are?
They need to know that they can rise above fear. That, to me, I think, like, if you can pass that on to any child with the proper encouragement that they can rise above fear, then they can be successful at anything they do. For us, it's the fear that's associated with trauma that will keep us forever in poverty. Fear is a thief. Fear steals from us. It takes from us everything that we could possibly have. It takes opportunity. It takes place. It takes, energy. It takes time. It takes everything. Fear takes everything and leaves you with nothing. If we can overcome fear, rise above, like the song says, rise above fear. It doesn't matter what we are doing, whether we're educators, whether we're doctors, lawyers, plumbers, like I say, the whole mosaic of the community. You're going to be successful.
Back when me and Brendan were working at Urban Shaman and we booked seaweed for the gala that we had, I remember you had these really cool pants. You always look like sharp on stage. You guys look good up there.
We learned that as well through these people that do success talks. We used to have them playing in the bus. I think Tony Robbins was one of them. Dress for success was always something that we heard, not only for yourself, but for the person in front of you that you respect. If you can take at least that much effort to dress good, dress fine, to do your performance, at least you have that level of respect for your audience.
As a bar owner and musician, you host crowds all the time. What's one secret to being a great host, whether on stage or in real life?
Most of all is the least amount of judgment. Accepting people for exactly where they are, whatever they have to say, whatever they're doing, even the ones that could be obnoxious and a little bit too much to drink, all that kind of stuff. They can be treated with respect. They can be treated to a point where they don't feel good being nasty because they're being treated so well. All that stuff that we learned over the years is just really hospitality 101, that you really put respect for your patrons, for your audience, for the people who are buying your product. I mean, they're the ones that are creating your success. So, of course, they're the most important person in the room. So you let them know that. You can do that by all kinds of ways. You don't have to be phony or anything like that. It just has to be in your heart, and they'll pick up the vibe, don't worry.
So that's all the questions I have. Is there anything you want to add?
Also, in the back of the head, as you move through the world and do the things that are important to you, that you do the things that you love the most, you always should have a sense of what you're going to leave behind when you're not here anymore. And so legacy becomes more important as the years tally up. I'm going to be 73 this year, of course, so I think about that often. The most important thing to me is over the years, I've learned and heard kids on the reserve being completely inspired by our music. That's the legacy that I would like to leave behind, is for the kids seeing the success that we had as Nietzsche's and know that they can also access the world. And like I said, accessing the world is dealing with fear and trauma. And once we can get past that, our God-given talents will take over.
Yes, that was so much fun. Thank you, Errol. Awesome. You'll probably for sure see us around eventually.
Totally supportive of you guys, all the success. I hope you guys do well.
Well, that's all for this episode, folks. It was so inspiring for me to talk with all these people that I look up to. I had all these ideas of what this show could have been, but I chose to just go with the flow, and it may change with time. But all I know is that I want to talk with people that are moving or have moved beyond survival and into sovereignty, because that's where I am. I'm just shedding survival mode piece by piece. Things are hard, especially being Indigenous, the way we grew up and everything. I really take all of what they're saying to heart. I'm doing this so that someone else can hear it too. And so, like how I was saying with Errol, is we all have a gift. That's my belief. My grandma told me that my gift is my dreams. And so that's what brought me here, just following my dreams. I just hope that this podcast helps you find yours too, and that you go after it fearlessly. I'm just happy that it all came together. Until the stars align again, this is Move. We're Indigenous. Independently produced by me, your host, Janelle Henry. Thank you so much for listening. I'll leave you with this, On With the Show by my dad, Bernalvis.
Started every Saturday afternoon. what they say.